Hello, I'm Luca De Giglio, and this is the Web3 in Travel podcast, where you can learn about crypto, blockchain, and how the new internet will change travel. Hi, everyone. Today we are here with Michele Ruberl. He's a friend of ours. We work together on one project, which is the first NFT hotel booking in the world in a Venice hotel through Alpitour, which is one of the biggest or probably the oldest Italian tour operator. And now he works at Peakwork, and he will tell us about this. He's going to be a speaker at the Web3 in Travel conference in Barcelona on the 15th of May. So if you find interesting what he has to say, please come to see us in Barcelona. It's going to be an interesting event. So I really hope that you can make it if you're interested. Michele, welcome to the podcast. Well, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah. Hi again, Luca, and thank you for having me, and hi everyone. So now at Peakwork, I am handling or managing a new business unit around Web3 and blockchain solutions, which is very interesting probably, and within this podcast focus. And before that, I was born as a computer engineer, then manager of computer engineers in a pure internet sense of the terms, as in the dot-com bubble, and then a little bit of telecommunication and consulting. Then I started traveling around the world, especially in the UK, then China. Did my own startup in China, did a very little exit out of it, and then landed in Mexico and into travel tech. In Mexico, I started to be the CTO of a hotel chain, Spanish hotel chain, but based in Mexico, where it was 2014, so a few years now of travel tech. And since 2017, in blockchain, as in starting to get near to the hype of that cycle of crypto and blockchain, and started to invent or trying to invent a loyalty program based on blockchain for travel, where the idea was, and still partly is, to create a federation of peers, as in hotel chains mostly, to exchange points, leads of traveler profiles, etc. Similar to what airlines do on another scale, of course, with various star alliances, sky teams, etc.
Sorry to interrupt you already. Yeah. This doesn't exist in the hotel world today. There's no big alliances of hotels.
There are the big brands that actually mint, not in the NFT sense, but they mint their own, in the traditional sense, their own currency, their own loyalty currency, Hilton with the Hilton honors, etc. And they actually...
But this is, sorry again, this is like inside a specific brand or
Hilton,
conglomerate.
For example, they actually have a very, very good proposal for independent hotels where they affiliate them into their currency. For the hotel is actually a very good thing, because they extend the reach of their loyalty program and their currency, which due to the peculiarity of the travel industry, doesn't really have a lot of value when it's about an independent hotel or a small chain. I mean, repetition and frequency in travel are a complication for any loyalty effort. Of course, the independent hotels then pays in branding, because it sounds like it's a Hilton hotel or it's affiliated with Hilton, while it's not. It's just using that currency. So that's one of the main issues. Actually, there are other plays, and not necessarily with the exchanging points or status or anything, but there are affiliations of hotels, like the preferred hotels in the world is actually a brand where hotels aggregate around a booking engine, around I would say something similar to an OTA, but there's nothing like an alliance per se, where independent hotels don't give up any of their branding, but they still collaborate on that.
Okay, I see.
So back to 2017, that actually was a very, I think, nice idea, probably a bit ahead of its time.
2017 was early.
Yeah. And it failed. It failed. I learned a lot of lessons. I actually got to pitch to various international conferences and to various heavy prospects. I flew to Malaysia a couple of times because there is a big airline that should be unnamed, but it's based in Kuala Lumpur. So yeah, that was very interesting. And then, by the way, they did their own blockchain-based loyalty gig.
All right.
Yeah, not mine though. And yeah, that was it. So then, long story very short, the Mexican adventure and the Californian actually adventure, because to do that, I mean, one has to be in California to get, you know, media and VC attention, etc. And then,
or used to, because things have changed after COVID.
Yeah,
but
correct.
Okay, that was 2017.
Kind of, running away from that, but at the time it was still the same. And then fast forward a couple of years, actually, 4 years actually. It was 2019, and I got the offer to work for LP Tour. So I came back to Italy after more than a decade of traveling around, and I started working at LP Tour, doing completely different stuff. I was head of integrations, meaning connecting to sourcing and distribution suppliers and customers of LP Tour. That though, of course, once the blockchain bug is in, it really it's difficult to forget. And there are actually a lot of things then when you connect APIs make you suffer inside, as in very complicated like round trip time of the call, very complicated, or actually absence of standards when it's about how to describe a contract, etc.
Yeah, one thing about blockchains which is underreported, like we don't talk about this much, because we talk about the immutability, we talk about the many things like decentralization, etc. But one aspect is the standardization of everything. So to make everything work, it needs to be a standard, and so blockchains have standards. Why Web2 is a big mess of different standards with APIs trying to glue them together. So it's interesting what you're saying, because that's another hidden superpower of blockchains in a way. So the web is getting more standardized, more interconnected.
Exactly. So for two entities to transact, you need, of course, the trust or not. In blockchain, not necessarily. And you need a contract, or you need two wallets to exchange value, but you do need standards, absolutely.
I got a metaphor. Sorry, it's like in Web2, every country has a different train system in which, when you reach the border, there's a specific name for that, gauge or something like that. The width of the platform of the carriage, and so it's very complicated to go abroad, where each country is a platform, like Airbnb, Booking, or whatever. They are different countries. In Web3, by definition, is kind of every country is the same, so it's very easy to travel around with its limitations. Of course, we have different blockchains and things, right?
Yeah, correct. So then you need people to still agree, but it's easier and it's public, so you don't need to search for those APIs. You go.
Maybe it's more at the continent level. Like Ethereum is Europe, Bitcoin is America, and I don't know, Solana is another continent. So between continents, yes, it gets a bit harder. But how many times you cross a continent border compared to how many times do you cross a country border? Maybe like this.
I would agree. Absolutely. So in working in integrating the travel industry, you keep thinking why and how that could be much better with blockchain, etc. So that was kind of in my back burner, so to say. And then we had it was actually in 2021, and it was, NFTs were all the rage, etc. And a few brands actually were experimenting with launch or dropping actually NFTs, mostly souvenir NFTs, or
that period was like, okay, we can sell something valueless for money, let's sell it, right? A lot of this, like, we can do an NFT, it costs nothing, people will pay for it, let's sell whatever,
Yeah, exactly. So that's one. And the other thing is that the AP2's president was listening and interested in trying to do something. So basically, we got together with you, Luca, and Cadidio was born, as in the first hotel nights ever sold.
Cadidio, the hotel, which
the hotel in Paris,
yeah.
correct. So that was
that was a real. I mean, the person who bought the NFT bought actually a night in the hotel, so that was like not speculative, but real value, right?
Correct. There was something attached to it, and that was a resounding success. And it all started a few of the then links that brought me here. So in the meantime, we got a supplier at the time at Peakwork called Peakwork. And then I'll tell you a little bit, like in 30 seconds, because I have to every time I do these things.
No, but we want to know what Peakwork does.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the context of...
And yeah, so they came to us, and actually the owner of Peakwork, who's Rav Uzbek, got the idea exactly in 2021 to aggregate the travel industry around a new blockchain, which is a chain for travel. And I think you already talked about this on the channel. Or,
yes, a few times, yeah.
So they came to us pitching the idea, and actually they found fertile soil, and we became one of the validator nodes and members of that.
Oh, you mean Alpitur?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. So it's interesting information.
And of course, I got I got to sit together at dinner that evening with Ralph, and he proposed me, why don't you also get on board as one of the advisors of Chain for Travel, which I did on behalf of Alpitur at the time. But then, of course, we started collaborating on that, on advisor level, and finally, let's say when the time was mature, we decided to start and working together on this new thing, which is now Peakwork Web3. So what Peakwork does traditionally, so to say, legacy Peakwork is a corporate enterprise software factory from Germany, from Düsseldorf, born in 2009. In 2009, it wasn't so standardized. It's even less standardized. We're talking about the hotel industry and the distribution industry, very, very less standardized, very point-to-point connected via APIs, or even, like old style file transfer and stuff like that. And Peakwork got the idea in 2009 to create this kind of technology called Player Hub, which basically represented a very, very smart caching layer where suppliers publish or push, actually, when we talk about travel API, their inventory, so the availability and prices, to the distributor with a proprietary format called EDF, so that the distributor, when he searches for inventory, actually does a local query, doesn't call an API, which is far. And so the results are very quicker and more, so at the front-end level, the user is much happier because he gets his queries answered quickly. And then, of course, for the check and the book requests, you go directly to the supplier in a traditional way. So that was a revolutionary concept back in 2009, and then became less and less relevant with history, because the history goes now towards the dynamification of pricing, etc. So it's much more difficult to cache it nowadays, with exceptions. So the Peakwork technology became much smarter and smarter, so that those caches are still relevant, are still very updated, but there are cases where it doesn't make any sense. So what Peakwork wants to do now, and then the other thing also is that it's a kind of decentralized technology. It is, in the sense that there's no central repository of those availabilities. You actually, as a supplier, deploy it into the distributor's data center.
It's a bit like RSS.
Yes. Yes, but the RSS is still pulled. This is pushed.
This is pushed. Okay.
Yeah. So you push your availability, your inventory, and everything into the distributor, into the tour operator as a pledge chain, for example. And then it's there. So if you go down, if your system goes down, the distributor can still show your availability,
because it cached the data.
Yeah.
It saved it. Okay.
So it is decentralized. If you want, it's kind of a node but there's no
Yeah, yeah.
validation, there's no central anything. So you still have to have context.
But you trust the publisher of the data because it's a
You
partner.
trust the publisher of the data because it's their data, so it's your oracle, if you want to say that. But you still need a contract, so it's not like something that the transaction still goes.
You need a paper contract
with a set, and a monthly settlement and the reconciliation, all the problems,
all the bureaucracy.
But mostly, I want to concentrate here on the contract because that works among few big players, basically. So basically, imagine Peakwork as a water clock where you have a few distributors, a small water clock where you have a few huge distributors and a few huge suppliers that transact with each other. Now, what people are going to do now is add, again, in this metaphor of the eye clock, one bigger layer on the top and one bigger layer at the bottom, where on the top you have many more smaller distributors, and on the bottom, many smaller suppliers. Okay. We're talking for the upper level, not really at the OTA or at the to operator level, but really going one step further and talking directly to small travel agencies or even consumers. While on the other side, you want to go down to the hotel, to the independent hotel level, or to the accommodation provider anyway, or even to the activity provider as the end of the life.
To simplify, maybe for people who follow, just to make it a bit more digestible, what we're talking about here is how suppliers and buyers will connect, like how a hotel will reach the guest or the travel agency or whoever wants to buy the room. And there's many, correct me if I'm wrong, there's many ways to do this, but it's all through companies. If you are in one system, you're not in the other one. It's very fragmented. So what Peakwork has been doing is like to make it more decentralized in a way, so more resilient. And at the same time, open to more smaller, because in the other systems, the small one has to basically beg the bigger one, can I be part of yours so you can distribute me? While in this one, it seems to me that you're saying it's kind of more open to even the smaller ones.
Yeah, exactly. And correct? I'll do a few examples here. And there's also another beauty.
But sorry, this is not Web3 so far. We're talking Web2.
No, we're talking still, I mean, this
is still Web2.
That we want to do cannot be done, or it's much more difficult to be done on Web2 or on traditional API calls. Why? Because you still have what I was saying before. You still
contracts. Okay. So you were talking about Web3. What Web3 will allow to be done?
Exactly. So
I lost that.
Okay. The idea is that as a hotel, for example, you want to be distributing your inventory, or better, your ancillaries, because for the inventory, okay, you have the bed banks, you have all these intermediaries that already allow you to do it. But for the ancillaries, it's much more difficult. So
ancillaries will be
champagne in the room, late checkout, anything.
Okay.
So if a travel agencies want to sell hotels late checkout, they can't most of the times. The late checkout reach is from the moment the user is at the front desk, or at best, if the user is doing an online check-in on a direct channel, yes, then yes. But for all the non-direct bookings, which in leisure especially are sometimes still the use case, that is not impossible, but it's much more difficult, because you would have to sell it to thousands of travel agencies.
All right.
So now if you do that,
small items, and it's not worth it because it's too much bureaucracy.
It's not worth it now, but on some destination, actually, that is when you start talking about activities and stuff, actually this becomes a preponderant part of the revenue for
revenue. Okay. So let me pause a moment here.
Yeah.
I see some similarities with what happened in DeFi. Like before DeFi, if I wanted to buy some stocks, I had to go through a broker. So me as a retail investor, I need to go to a broker, and I cannot go directly to the source. Cannot like lend or borrow directly from people who sell those services. So we had this small clock where there were the big guys and everybody, all the small ones on both sides, retail and suppliers, were out of the game. They had to kind of go through the bigger one. So a very fragmented or structured supply chain in a way. with DeFi, I can finally, for instance, lend some crypto to somebody else, peer-to-peer, without anybody in the middle, because the smart contract replaced the company. Okay, and the same thing is, you're describing the same thing. The smart contract and will replace the companies. We won't need those companies anymore. The smart contract takes their part. So this is that correct? Okay, so
yeah, it is correct. And also, just to clarify, there's also no Peakwork in the middle, not commercially at least. I mean, Peakwork enables that system to work and provides business logic for all these smart contracts to be built. But we're not then reselling. We're just enabling that.
You're enabling true smart contracts.
Yeah, correct.
True infrastructure, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the gist of it. But what this enable are a few, let's say, pillars or verticals or dApps that we are actually building around this concept. And so the first one is vouchers, as in travel vouchers. Travel vouchers are kind of boring, so to say. It's nothing new here. So you have vouchers for refund. You have vouchers representing an ancillary service. You have vouchers for insurance, for many things, right? But what this mechanism that I was describing allows is the distribution of those vouchers upstream, if you are a hotel, for example, to the DMC, the distribution management service company, to the tour operator, to even the travel agency, so that they sell yours. They don't have necessarily their own inventory, but they can resell yours, the hotelier's ancillary service, getting a cut. Each one of these people, if they're selling, getting a cut of their sale, and without needing a contract. So basically, you deposit that cut, that commission, into a wallet, and they are going to redeem it for money in their bank account whenever it's necessary. And by the way, we're talking money as in fiat currency, or actually a tokenized representation of fiat currency, because we are having a deal with a bank that basically means a stable coin for euros that are put in their vault. So there is also this aspect, which is very important when you talk to traditional
you can't go to them and say,
but it's very important, and we do insist that transactions come on chain, not only the touristic transaction as in PNR or book reference, but we want also the money to transact on chain, because then you have that atomicity. So in the travel industry, you always have the problem of a booking reference that is not being paid for, or even the payment coming from, you don't know exactly which transaction again. So the fact that the value and the payload and touristic payload of the transaction travel together allows for basically nullify the risk for reconciliation and wrong settlement and that.
Let's explain quickly what reconciliation is, because maybe
so when you are a distributor, a tour operator, so to say, an LP tour, for example, you sell a lot of hotels because you buy them and then you resell them to.
You meaning you sell room nights?
Yeah, you sell room nights. Yeah, room nights. And so what you have is a big invoice at the end of the month by a bed bank or a hotel chain. They say, okay, give me X amount of money because I made these bookings. But since you're buying the same hotel through many ways, you can buy the same room nights of a hotel from many ways. You're not really sure that is the right route from which you actually were sourcing the room night.
Oh, they could be overcharging you by mistake,
or the hotel itself, etc. And when you're big, you actually receive a lot of invoices, and there is a job for many actually humans to see that there's not double booking or double payment for every single room night. So that's completely eliminated if you do it on blockchain. Right. There's just no need for that. Either it's paid or it doesn't exist, which is good.
Because the payment is connected to the transaction. I mean, the two things cannot happen at the same time, basically. Okay.
But these are also something, because there might be some some people that do work in a travel industry. That probably, when I explain like that, it scares people a little bit, mostly because then you have the feeling that that money gets transacted immediately. which is not the case, not necessarily. So the travel industry and the distribution industry lives on small margins. So where the tour operator makes money normally is on paying later. So normally pay an X amount of days after checkout, right?
How do they make money on this? With interest?
Well, they have money so basically, if you have a package that gets paid at least a little bit in advance, and then you pay less, it's basically a bank where you get the money.
So on interest, basically. But how did
on interest or on whatever they're doing with that money? That's yes.
Well, whatever it
is. Yes.
If you have money and you want to make money out of it, you have to lend it.
Yeah.
And there's rates for lending. So in the last few years, like the interest rates were close to zero, almost like even zero sometimes. How do they make money out of this? Like treasuries or? I mean,
no. In this case, so for a tour operator, in this case, it's not really lending money out. It's more not having to ask banks for money, right? So
it's saving. So it's liquidity. It's free liquidity.
Yeah, it's liquidity. Correct. So you
make money by making this money make more money. So basically,
exactly. Exactly.
Credit.
And then you do stuff with that, you invest it.
Okay.
So with a smart contract attached to a touristic transaction, you don't need necessarily to give away that money. But you have a kind of a distributed escrow or eBay to make without the eBay. So that is basically it's implicit into how blockchain works, that allows the supplier to know that they will be paid eventually with the rules. And you still keep the money until it's time. So it's really how a distributed ecosystem works. And actually,
the money is in the contract for during this time.
Exactly. So it's still an asset that is showable to a bank, and it can be.
So it's collateral.
It's collateral.
Well, with the bank, how will the bank accept this? Because it represents like fiat money in a way.
It's still money that it's there to be used as a collateral until the actual settlement. I want to get inside that just to say that this enables automatic, not instant settlement of a touristic transaction. So there's actually a lot of human labor which is not spent to reconcile, to do settlement, etc. Actually, there are a few others that are trying to do that on blockchain. I don't know if you heard about Travel Ledger. Probably yes. So
Travel Ledger X?
No, Travel Ledger by Roberto Dare is
no.
Okay, it's actually a company who does that.
Okay.
For hotels, they start from the UK. Now they probably go also in the rest of Europe. But the idea of enabling a better mechanism of hotel, especially settlement, is not new, or is something that is a problem very felt by the industry. So that's distribution upstream. But also the voucher system that I was telling you about also enables hotels downstream now to source ancillaries from the environment around the hotel without having an agreement again without having a legal contract with the restaurant around the corner, or the bike shop around the corner, or the individual person wanting to be a tour guide for the hotel guests. So basically what happens there is that all these actors are able to publish in the hotel system their inventory, their ancillaries, their tours, their something. The hotel sells them and then gives money, of course, to the supplier, either in terms of money in a wallet or in terms of points of a loyalty system, and we will go there, that then the business around the hotel can redeem for perks themselves, or for night at that specific hotels, or for something.
All this you're saying is at the moment a project, or something is developed? Is it live?
That's live, as in we have smart contracts working on the Camino, on the Chain for Travel testnet.
Oh, so it's live, but it's test because the Camino.
We're waiting for
testnet, right? Okay.
Correct. So as soon as they go live, we go live. And actually, we have the best use case so far. I was recently in Palma de Mallorca. I won't name the company, but again, it's one of the big DMCs from Palma de Mallorca. They actually want to implement exactly the scenario I was talking about, where they have this app that they distribute to their travelers, and basically it covers the leg of the traveler journey that goes from destination airport to the check-in at the hotel, because they have basically do all the transfers, etc. So they have the customer there, and they distribute to them a web app that has basically indicate directions to the transfer bus, and then of course check-in at the hotel, and of course they upsell ancillaries at that stage. You have the customer and you try to upsell, I don't know, why don't you do a tour, why don't you do that, etc. So they really wanted a way to enrich that offer with the offer of the hotel themselves, not only the thing that they contract. So for them, it's really now they can sell a late checkout. They really can sell a champagne in the room. They really can collaborate with the hotel on that, but they're talking about tens of thousands of hotels. So they really cannot go to the hotel. So they empower the hotel to publish that inventory into the app without needing to.
It's a bit like if every conceivable contract between every conceivable company was already pre-signed. You just have to do it. You just have to use it in a way.
Correct.
Okay. That's a big change. And it's just, again, back to DeFi. This is the composability aspect of having stuff which can communicate to each other, and you can put pieces together and create products, services like apps, just by putting stuff together. You don't need to build anything new in many cases. So that will allow innovation at so many levels that we cannot dream of today, because today everything is manual. There's paper involved, and every single thing requires a paper contract. So I see what you mean. I see where the value is in this.
Yeah, exactly. So so you forget about the paper contracts. You also enable for hotels, especially for accommodation provider, the mining the real gold, which is back to the roots of hospitality. What is hospitality? Hospitality is, I know my destination, I know the restaurant next door, and I am really showcasing that to the traveler who relies on me, trusts me. So the fact of me being able to extend, if you want, the reach of me being a concierge, of that servicing to upstream. So before even I know my guest, showing that specific nice activity up to the tour operator level, etc., or down, gathering all this information and trying to, or gathering all these services and trying to push that to the right customer is actually, I think, something really beautiful, not necessarily only useful, but really is something that brings digital something that is inherently human of our industry. So I really like it.
Let's try to kind of explain this to a guest or a traveler who is going to use these apps. Can you make me an example? Like, okay, I travel, and now we have what Peakwork has done. Now I can do this. Before I couldn't. Could you make me an example?
So what you can do, a couple of things. For example, you could say, okay, hi, you're Luca, you're at my check-in front desk in Playa del Carmen because you went to the Riviera Maya holidays. And by the way, you could actually go and have a tour or a day with the brother of that mesero or that waiter that is serving you now, who lives in a Maya village 50 kilometers from the hotel and doesn't have a bank account. So it doesn't matter, it doesn't have a bank account for the customer, but what it matters is that the customer can see that at the end of the day, that Maya person, the brother of the waiter, will receive the money, it's written there, will receive it in a wallet that he can use without necessarily having a bank account. So one of the problems of the hotels is you want to pay a local supplier who doesn't have a bank account. And how do you do that? Your financial department will kill you if you try to. So you cannot really gather the community, especially in those kind of destinations around, even if you wanted to.
So for me, traveler, it means I have access to more
real, authentic, whatever that may be.
Less corporate travel, more organic travel.
Less hyper tourism.
Doesn't Airbnb do this in a way? Like, it's experiences. Don't I find these things already on Airbnb?
So the nearest thing there's on now on the market is actually Airbnb destination.
Okay, so it's that, but
without the Airbnb.
Without the Airbnb, but also more reach potentially.
More reach because again it's spontaneous.
But they need to have a wallet. So a Maya with a wallet. Which is, but do you give them also Web2 access? Because I don't see I don't see Mayas with wallets too much.
No, but you see a lot of Maya with Facebook credentials.
So Web2, so you give them a Web2 interface. You
actually have something which is, I mean, until of course they all have their phones, even if they don't have bank accounts. So
yeah.
Until Google and Apple agree in putting a Web3 component to their wallets, we actually partnered with a company, actually a Web3 project called Web3 Auth. I don't know if you heard about it. Basically, they represent actually they split the private key of an Ethereum address basically onto different places, one of them being a Web3 or a Google credential, a Facebook credential, etc. So basically,
MPC wallets. I think they're called multi-party custodial wallets or something.
Yeah. Okay. So they're in the end if you want to call it 2.5 Web 2.5 wallets or something like that, where it's non custodial, where it's non custodial, but it's still tied to that Web 2
kind of a backup. Okay, I see that. So for me, more options than before. That's one.
Yeah, and then that's the one thing. The other thing is, okay, at the end of my stay, my Luca, who's now an entire Carmen, knows, or actually the hotel knows about Luca, that he liked to do yoga on the beach, for example, because he did it twice. And if you are not Hilton, again, I do not have anything against Hilton, but really this system is not for the Hiltons of this world, but it's really for everyone else. So if you're not Hilton, you're probably not. Yeah, even if you're mid-sized hotel chain, you're probably geographically constrained. So basically, you're maybe having hotels in Playa del Carmen and maybe Mexico and maybe Costa Rica or Dominican Republic there, right? You don't have, for example, hotels in Bali. But you, Luca, as a customer, you might not want to repeat next year again in Riviera Maya. You want to do your Bali trip with the yoga on the beach, possibly, because that's what you are. You are a yogi who loves doing yoga on the beach. So me, as a concierge of the resort, can actually propose, hey, why don't you go to that hotel in Bali that I don't have an affiliation with, and send and ask you to, well, technically would be you deploy your traveler profile, who's a series of NFTs attached to your wallet, into that new property. And because...
No, I lost this passage. So I am a traveler with a series of NFTs with signal where I've been, so my preferences. Yeah. What do I do with this again?
You can basically go to the next, to the hotel similar to my hotel in Playa del Carmen, but worldwide away, and you can go there. And what does the hotel do? He receives a lead that is anonymous because you're a Web3 wallet.
Okay.
But it's very profile. So you can say, you like yoga on the beach, I offer you a yogi room on the beach, whatever.
But sorry to, try to go a bit against it because I want to understand it. And so why would I ask the Playa del Carmen hotel where to stay in Bali? What does he know about Bali? Why is this a potential referral?
Well, because
it tells me it's in the same network. That's the thing, or
so it might be in the same network, or it just don't have a. So that in the case you want to be explicitly referring somebody because you know them, or it's actually without even the hotel A knowing that, and you searching by your means, however, in Google, anything, the hotel B, and by the fact of being of having been staying at Hotel 1, having a better personalized experience at Hotel B,
because they can read what they like in a way, right?
Correct. And Hotel 1 or Hotel A receives a commission or receives a cut or receives a kickback or anything. So it's basically if you want third-party cookies in real world.
Yeah,
right?
You want your profile to be public so that people like other suppliers can adapt their offer to me.
And yes, and this is the inverted loyalty, as I want to call it. So
Inverted loyalty. Okay.
So you are actively, Luca, opting in each of those web properties, or at the hotel, then a tour operator, then the DMC, etc., with your profile. So you are explicitly saying, hey, this is me, this is public about me because it's on blockchain. Please do give me the best experience of my lifetime. Please personalize your offer for me because you want that. And by doing that, the whoever is able or wants to read that profile has a very good profiled lead to then personalize their offer. They are probably giving a discount or a perk that is anyway much less in value than the I don't know, 15 to 18% they would give to an intermediary anyway. So that's how we
well,
think
it seems to me that the trick here, I mean, the good thing is that it's programmatical. It can be programmed. Like a hotel theoretically could read my Facebook profile and try to give me a personalized experience, but how do you do that? I mean, maybe the software doing that, but it's soft data. While if you read the blockchain, it's hard data. Whatever you read there, it's kind of guaranteed. And I can make this analysis in an automatic manner and create offers in an automatic manner too. Is it
yes
a good way to see this?
It is, if you are staying within your reach, right? So if you are advising or offering your or the reachable inventory that you have there, but then it also spans among stays, among itineraries. So you can actually then monetize your information that you put on that profile because other people are selling to that profile. So it's kind of, you get a little bit of a royalty every time somebody else transacts with that traveler because the information that traveler has came from
okay.
you.
Okay. So it's a profit sharing in a way also. It's like an automatic referral. One of the problems with referrals is that, and it happened to me recently, okay, I'm gonna say it here because I want a bit of revenge. For a long time, I tried to get referrals from Agoda. Like I traveled and I used the referrals. And whenever I reached the threshold sometimes and I got paid, but the last time I just got an email from them saying, because you didn't answer to some request of information, which I never got, we're going to shut down your partner's referral program. And they owe me a bit of money. It's nothing, but, they basically stole money from me because they could, because it's centralized, because it's not transparent, etc. While when this is done in the way you're explaining it, it just happens. It's programmed in the contracts, and no one can really stop a payment towards me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's another. Actually, that's actually applicable to any of these use cases in any industry, but I see the touristic ones, where is actually the customer, or is actually that business that is owning the service, which is actually owning the financial part of it, or the content. I mean, there are other friends in the space which are trying to do that with recommendations or with reviews or with, all these soft assets now become much harder, as you said. So it's like
sorry, I said soft data is actually, and I'm going to borrow from Andreas Antonopoulos when he was talking about Bitcoin. This is soft promises against hard promises. That's the concept. So what you're building is hard promises.
Yeah, exactly.
Cannot be
so
broken.
imagine that extends the concept of a marketplace, if you want, for traveler leads. Sounds bad, but actually once the traveler is benefiting from it and is one of the nodes, it's not so it doesn't sound so bad anymore, right? Where you're actually not giving your traveler profile, and you are to an OTA or to an intermediary, but you're actually benefiting from that, or from the recommendation you gave to that hotel, because based on that recommendation they can whatever. So it's really an economy of a data economy on traveler profiles that is enabled by that. And again, this is my old dream of a loyalty program possibly coming true. And again, there's no central entity. We don't have the idea of creating a B2C brand or anything like that. It's actually in the hands of the existing hotel brands or airlines or retailers at the airport, etc., to utilize that information. So the beauty of it in the end is that it enables, yes, as I was saying before, and this is more like near time, a DMC, somebody who has already given an app to their guests to put stuff to enrich that app with content and getting paid for commissions because they're selling on that platform. But it actually enables better, if you want, spontaneous business models that nobody thought about it before. For example, imagine in the airport somebody who's the proverbial flight delay where the airline drops or signals on chain that their flight has been delayed, and now Starbucks or whoever retailer in the airport drops an NFT representing a discount on a Frappuccino to all these distressed customers, instead of you waiting for a travel voucher after 2 hours when maybe you're already eaten somewhere else, etc. So now the traveler has that, could utilize it at Starbucks, and then Starbucks is happy, they have a new customer, the airline is happy, they get a cut for that sale that wasn't agreed before between Starbucks and the airline. Traveler is very happy, everybody's happy. And that is really extensive. And this is a spontaneous, if you want, transaction that that wasn't scripted by anyone. It wasn't presented in a web portal. It was just happening because everybody trusted each other, trusted that the commission would arrive, etc., without having a contract. So that's the beauty, I would say, of those journeys that are now possible.
So you are building an infrastructure, I would say a public infrastructure here, and you are expecting other companies to leverage this new infrastructure to build on top many things. I mean, you have some ideas. Sure, there's going to be other ideas in the future, etc. Right? So you're kind of making a public infrastructure. How does Peakwork make money out of this?
Yeah, so again, Peakwork, so the layers are, there's the blockchain, which is public or permission in this case. We're working on Camino. We're working on EVM contracts. So in principle, they're deployable in other blockchains, but we're working on Camino now. So we are the solution provider. So we create these smart contracts and the standards you were talking about for people that want to use those to work among each other. We create that traveler profile that I was specifying as if you want, as an augmentation of a Web3 wallet. So basically you sign in with your Web3 or Web 2.5 wallet, but that dApp is actually a dApp that we are creating as a product. And as Peakwork, we are creating projects based on it, exploiting the Peakwork. Why Peakwork and not a small startup in this case? Because we really have already the customer, B2B customer base to be able and go and try that with existing customers.
You're building
the solution provider in this.
You build an infrastructure because you want to use it, and then whatever you build on top, you're going to make money on these apps.
And then of course, as these dApps are in the end web apps which are white labelable, if you want to use them like they are, put your logo, etc., you pay us a license fee, which is a normal, let's say, the normal enterprise software business model. So that's what we do basically. But then we leave to others to utilize, for example, the customer wallet or the traveler wallet, because the richer it is, the better it is for our customers as well. So it's all a critical mass play where it's much more valuable if the long tail, as we call it sadly in the enterprise world, is actually on board as well. Yeah.
So the infrastructure has been built. You're waiting for Camino to go mainnet. And then do you have already a list of which apps you're going to launch first?
So voucher, as in voucher. As in multi-party settlement. the next would be, we call it recognition because loyalty is not fancy enough, but it's this thing where actually it's the traveler is recognized. So recognition in English has two meanings, right? So it's recognized as in I know who you are, but it's also recognized as I recognize your value or your whatever you did. So these are the two ways where this is a kind of evolution of loyalty. And the third is actually our take on the trading or secondary market, where other people are already moving and trying to do anything in aviation, anything in hotel space, etc. But we believe there is a space also in ancillaries and all these activities that we will start by them. And of course, we also try
resellable
hotels and planes as well. But
like a marketplace for resellable NFTs, representing ancillary products like
and hotel and aviation, but mostly we start by ancillaries. And there, how we differentiate from I won't name them, but from other players in the space is because they all try to be the next brand there, and they really, maybe because I always was a B2B guy. We're not going to do that. So we're not going to do a B2C portal where people look for ancillaries or find non-refundable hotel rooms or plane tickets resold. No, we are giving our big customers the possibility of having that for their product, or if they're more illuminated, to basically transact among businesses as well. So basically,
behind the scenes.
Yeah. So in a big hotel chains powered by our trading platform, you'll be able to see your inventory, your ancillaries, the ancillaries of your partners. Maybe if you are in agreement with an airline, their plane tickets, etc. But it's still hotelchain.com, not Peakwork trading platform, whatever.
I think that regarding all the NFT, like secondary sales on NFTs, whatever they represent, we need to have critical mass. So the more the merrier in this case, because if it stays with few and separated, we're never going to have enough critical mass. Now, if all these projects, including yours, create compatible NFTs, which can be aggregated in, let's say, they all end up in OpenSea, for instance, then we're gonna start seeing some market activity. It's still very early, of course, right? But yeah, we're gonna have to need to reach this critical mass, because if I buy a resellable NFT, but there's no market to resell it, I'm basically buying just something which like, let's say that I'm buying non-refundable but resellable NFT, which is the use case for all of these projects, because they say, okay, to the hotel, you don't need to cancel, you don't need to refund, and to the guest, you won't get a refund, but you can resell. Now, if this part of the equation is not realistic yet, then I'm just buying a non-refundable. Yeah, of course, it's really early, so the more the merrier. I mean, even if competitors don't want, we all want competitors in this, because otherwise it's never gonna.
And I do believe eventually there will be, I'm not want to call them exchanges, but just to do the analogies with DeFi, there will be the CEX, the ones who will be aggregating and listing all this, right? The Binances of that case, where maybe it's not compatible, but they will be aggregated anyway by someone who then is big enough and is powerful enough to become the brand for the mainstream.
Yeah, so because if like you are on Camino and somebody else is on Polygon, for instance, there's no way today to transact between the two, but a Binance comes in. Oh, maybe even Binance. Why not? But maybe them, right?
In this space.
Yeah, and they create a marketplace for who cares about the chain, because they are.
Yes, or somebody comes in and builds reliable bridges, but then it's
really hard.
I would trade carefully there, because it's not so.
Yeah, it's really hard. Like we have in DeFi one project which is called Tor Chain, which allows you to swap BTC, so Bitcoin, for Ethereum, even if they are on completely different chains, without bridges. It's done through specific pools. But this is really early, even in DeFi. So I guess in travel, we are still far from that. So you're right. Maybe some centralized exchange will offer exchange between these kind of travels. Why not? I see an opportunity there.
We'll see what happens. For me, the most important is that the traveler profile has value in as many outlets, as many touch points as possible. So that I really I hereby call for standardization. I really would like that traveler profile's reach to extend the reach of the Camino blockchain, for example, and people being able to read it from home.
I personally can't wait to be able to make bookings where, there's NFTs left at the end. It's a bit hard because there's just few. There's a Tachyon they launched and they're actually working. A few days ago, Book Trips launched, but again, it's kind of limited. Now you're gonna launch something like that, so I will buy. I want to buy make bookings on all of them, but I'm not gonna go somewhere just because I want NFTs. Like when I travel, I look if there's something available. And that's where today it breaks. I don't find something available for what I need, right? I mean, Tachyon has, I don't know, three hotels in Italy or something, or maybe 30, I don't know, but it's still too little for me to find what I need, when I need it, at my price point, etc. Book Travel, I'm not sure. They have many more because they're probably connected to some exchange, to a bad bank. But still, it's still early for that. We need critical mass, so again, the more the merrier.
Yeah, and again, on this, we're not the first movers on the voucher thingy. Probably we are basically making seamless something that exists off chain. On the recognition, so on the traveler profile, I believe that is the actual new thing. And on trading, I mean, it just makes sense. If you ask anybody what they would do with an NFT, of course they would retrade it. So that makes sense. We're not the first movers there, but we believe because, again, of something which is completely away from technology, we have the contacts for hoping that the next Alpi tour are willing to do that. And then, have 3 hotels in Italy, you have a couple of big hotel chains, and then you start seeing adoption, and you start seeing, what is needed then for the ecosystem to become mainstream, basically.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything you want to add?
No, I really would like to be back in 6 months and show you a few use cases live, because we do have some in the oven, but I cannot tell which ones.
Do you think by May, we're going to have something?
I can't promise, but by the summer, yes.
Okay. If you have something, we can maybe propose it to people who come to Barcelona to book. And okay. Anyway, let's see when you launch. And I really hope I can even myself book something there.
Absolutely.
Great. Okay, Michele, it was perfect. It was great. Thank you so much. And again, see you in Barcelona on the 15th of May for your speech.
With you and a lot of other friends. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And we're done. Thank you for listening to this episode. For more insights, follow me on Twitter @tripluca, TRIPLUCA. If you enjoy my podcast and want to support it, head on to podcast.web3intravel.com, 3 is a digit, and mint an NFT. If you want to sponsor it, you can do it at the same page. I will mention you in the podcast, and your name will appear on all donation NFTs for a while. Thank you, and ciao.